Good evening, everyone. At this time, I'd like to call this May 21st, 2024 meeting to order. Would you please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance and National Anthem? Or pledge in moment of silence. Sorry. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please call a roll?
Ms. Lloyd?
Here.
Ms. Miller?
Here.
Ms. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Willenbecker?
Here.
Mr. Reddinger?
Here.
And Mr. Kluskevich is ill and will be here.
Thank you.
Mr. Reddinger reports he'll be here late.
Or Mr. Lister.
Mr. Lister.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to report on our last executive session. We discussed matters of real estate personnel and potential litigation. No action was taken. At this time, do I have public comment on agenda items? Seeing no public comment on agenda items, agenda item number 1.
Do I have a motion to approve council meeting minutes for the May 7th, 2024 meeting as submitted?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilor Reed, second by Councilor Miller. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 2.
Do I have a motion to approve the payment of bills as shown on the accounts payable list dated May 15th, which is for the period of May 3rd through May 15th, and to ratify approval of such bills already paid, and to authorize the appropriate officials to take the required actions to make those payments?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Reed, second by Vice President Willenbecker. Any questions or comments on the bills? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3.
Do I have a motion to ratify an action taken by Middletown Fire Chief Whitebread in 2021, which documents the deletion of Paxtang State Fire Station number 40 from Middletown's fire deployment list, also known as box cards, which were submitted to and on file with Dauphin County Public Safety Services?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilor Rochelle, second by Councilor Miller. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4.
Do I have a motion to approve the special event request submitted by the American Legion Post 594 for the annual Memorial Day Parade from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. with setup beginning at 8 a.m., the parade route beginning at Carnes on East Email Street, traveling on Wood south to Ann Street, and ending on the Union Street Cemetery. And this would be on Memorial Day, the 27th.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Reed, second by Vice President Willenbecker. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 5.
Okay, informational item I want to point out on item number 1. The executive director of the PMEA Association will be here on June 1st just to introduce herself to Borough Council and explain her role in the Electric Association. Then we'll move to item number 4. We have a letter that was submitted to interest to serve on the Zoning Hearing Board. It's in your packet there, and I would like to know if you would like to add it to the business meeting agenda in June.
So moved.
Yes. Just not vote. Just we'll vote on June, but I want to know if people want us to add it.
Does everybody want to add? I want to know from everybody that's sitting here.
No.
No. We won't add it.
Okay.
Item number 5, I sent council an email previous to this meeting, but it is we received a change of law notification from the Middletown Water Joint Venture. This is as a result of the new EPA standards for drinking water, the contaminant known as PFAS, which I think they had their engineer here a couple of months ago to explain what that was and what it's all about. So now we have the change of law notice. And according to the lease agreement, the JV, the joint venture may seek capital cost recovery for any necessary capital improvement projects or operational costs that are a result of a change of law.
Okay.
And so in their attached letter, you'll see that, and we want to make it known that Middletown Water currently meets the standards for PFAS. Okay, so there's no issue, but the federal government is changing the limit. They're lowering the limit, and it's going to become effective in 2029. So by that point, all water utilities have to make sure if their current limits are above what the new standard is going to be in 2029, they're going to have to install treatment to lower
Oh,
the concentration limit of
Okay.
PFAS in the water.
Has the federal government released those thresholds yet?
right.
Yes, they have.
What are they?
And we're going to, those thresholds will have to lower our concentration of PFAS
Is it
in 2029.
Ah,
Is it a big amount that we're gonna have to?
These things are measured in micrograms per liter,
Oh, man.
parts per billion.
Oh,
So let's say right now, one of the wells may be at 12 parts per billion,
right.
and the new standard, I think it's going to be, I'd have to look up, I think it's like 10.
my question would be how many wells would it potentially affect in the borough of Middletown?
It looks like it's going to affect all of them.
My next question would be what could we do in the interim to maybe start putting together a budgetary line item so it's not all at once, or I guess it's the joint venture's problem.
It's capital cost, it's a joint ventures problem. They'll get their payment through capital cost
Got it.
recovery,
Gotcha.
which is rate increases
Yeah.
at that time after they build those things, just like they do now with, replacing pipes in the ground.
So they'll
Does-
hit us. They'll hit us with like a
Surcharge.
5%.
A rate increase.
Yeah, 5% or more probably.
No,
the-
we have no idea what that will be at this point. We really don't.
The borough's in cruise control at the moment, and the joint venture has it under control.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
It's years away, but what they will start working on sooner than later is a pilot study to determine what kind of treatment system is going to be most effective and most cost effective to meet that new standard.
Mm.
Okay.
Thank you.
We received the closeout letter from the federal government for the federal grant for Huffer Park. And we have a letter in your packet from Friends Over Fences requesting a sponsorship for their application for a gaming grant in order to help them get funding to rebuild their building I believe it's on Main Street after a recent fire. I believe they're here tonight, and we'll probably have them come up and talk at the public comment if they'd like at the end of the meeting. You have in your packet an application for the handicap parking space received from 119 Fisher Avenue. Property owner supports having a handicap parking space for the tenant, and the code office is recommending approval for the application. So we'd like to add that to your business meeting agenda for June. There's no objections. Information items, our trash collection contract with Penn Waste expires at the end of this year. Staff is currently reviewing the bid specifications and in preparation of advertising for potential bidders for a new 3-year contract to begin January 1, 2025. Item 10, we got some more information in your packet about the KME pumper truck. That's the one that was replaced by the new Seagraves that the fire department currently operates. There's also a letter in your packet from Chief Whitebread for your review and discussion at some point whether we're going to move forward with the sale or leasing that we talked about.
Thank you for the update.
Woodland Hills, I wanted to let you know that they are ready. The developer is ready to dedicate portions of their streets and sewer lines that are in phases 9A and 10A, I believe. They're Magnolia, Foxglove, and Treetop and Sage Boulevards. However, we haven't got complete clearance from our engineer yet, I guess, as far as the work that needs to be signed off on by them. But what I want to do is add it to our agenda for June 4th, because we may get that wrapped up before the meeting on June 4th. If it doesn't, we'll just have to kick it down the road to the next meeting. Um, Item number 12 is an update on the Spruce Street substation. Greg might have something to say about this when he gets up, but we'll let you know that the ad for bidding the Spruce Street substation has been published, and the bid opening is scheduled for May 28th. Now, that's in between our meetings. Our engineer expects to present council with a decision on the notice of intent to award at our June 4th meeting. So at that point, they'll have already reviewed the bids and see if they're in conformance and come to you on June 4th. And if everything's in conformance, ask you for approval of the award, the notice of intent to award. So I want to put that on the agenda for June 4th. The other thing that will happen at that same time, besides approving the intent to award the bid to a contractor, would be your approval for us to move forward with the second draw of a bond to finance the project. As you recall, we already did the ordinances, and we had the estimated total from our engineer, Cooper Engineering. The first draw was done. The reason we have two draws, if you remember, we wanted to stay under $5 million to something in finance law that gets more complicated. I don't recall what it was when you go over 5 million. So we did it in two draws, but it also allowed us time to do the first draw to order the transformers, which we already did, and some switch gear that's on order that had a long lead time of like a year. And now the second draw will be the money that will go toward the actual contractor who will install the materials. There's an item that I added to my report that you don't see, but I penciled in because it just came in recently, and that is we received a counter proposal from the Borough of Royalton for a new fire service agreement, and I think it's in your packet. They have, in that letter, agreed that they would meet your financial request. However, we had asked for a length of a 2-year contract term. They want to push it to 5, but they'll still meet the amount of money you want to see this year, next year, and the following year. They just added 2 more years onto it. And they also wanted to have a longer period. They wanted to go from 60 days to 1 year for a notice to terminate. And I talked to Ian, President Redinger, this morning. I think that's practical, even if we're going, because that's going to be the period where we're probably going to talk about renegotiating rates, and there'll be some back and forth, and we're not going to get that done in 60 days at the end of the contract. Plus, they would need to have that known before they go into budget season.
Right.
So,
Mr. Klein, Peter?
Yeah, I was just mentioning to President Redinger that, the term of the agreement and the cancellation period, may be viewed as business decisions. It's, the borough would consider, what they would need to do during that time period and whether or not it would be beneficial to allow a 1 year, giving another party a whole year to be able to think about what they're doing if they terminate. And if that makes sense to you, is it 6 months more reasonable from your perspective? What sort of steps would the borough and the fire department be working on with the thought of the change of terminating and not having to provide that coverage? Does that impact your fleet, your manpower, that kind of stuff, or work power, I should say?
well, I would say from the time we started talking about this old contract to today, we are probably at 8 or 9 months from this when this process started.
So those would just be the things that you would think about in terms of, a notice period of 12 months versus 6 versus, where you were at 60 days or what makes sense.
Right.
So
I'm fine left or right. 60 days may have been a little aggressive. 12 months may be also aggressive, but I'm fine left or right or anywhere in the middle. So
I would recommend leaving it where it is. We have, the win on the financial side. And I think, seeing how it took us 9 months at least to get to this point, it could happen again. It's politics and elected officials, and you got to get them all on board, at least the majority of them. Sometimes that takes a while.
Yep.
I think at this point, we're not going to put this on the agenda, but what we should do is get your approval to get this information to our solicitor to draft a new agreement that puts the legal terms in that you can share with Royalton.
I think we should go ahead and move with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do count this as a big win, and I'm glad that both councils were able to get together, resolve their differences, and I think it's a big win for the fire department and the residents of Middletown.
Yeah, I think it's a win for everybody, and I think it's fair. And I think, Royalton expressed at their meeting that it was just a shocking move for them at first with that much, but they realized, I think, when you look at things from a term of, or from the standpoint of a percentage increase, it looks big, but in dollars,
It's not.
it's really not that big in today's economy that what they're going to have to do. So, so we'll direct, our solicitors to draft something. We'll give them, there's the old agreement, I think Jim has, but I can dig it up. And there's some things in there that lay out who drives the equipment, that sort of thing, and we can incorporate that stuff. Okay, I think that's all I have.
Before we wrap up your report, I'd like to go back to your number 7 on your report. Is everybody here want to move forward with putting that on the agenda or not? You're recommending to put it on the agenda. I'm recommending we don't. Do we have?
I don't want to. No.
Okay. Would you strike that from placing it on your agenda?
And
We
I
will.
just want to say it's because the borough is going to be preparing 2 of our own gaming grant applications. So when we are doing 2 of our own, that would maybe preclude us from supporting any out of the community. Regardless of the project, it's not about the project. It's just that our own projects might take precedent over any others.
Anybody have any questions?
No.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Kleinpeter.
I actually, sorry, Ian, I have a question.
Go. Yeah.
So what Ms. Willenbecker was just saying, can you clarify that? Because I thought that wasn't the case, that we could support and apply for multiple grants, gaming grants.
You can. I think what she is saying is one of the things we discussed in the past is that the more applications that they receive from one municipality, the pie could get sliced into smaller pieces because there's going to be a set amount of money they get through the gaming grant, and chance that everybody wins in smaller pieces. And we are going to discuss tonight when Matt gets up here to give his report. We are planning on, you recall the pros plan. We looked at all the parks, and HRG did that study. Well, one of the things on the high priority list is the Fry Manor Park. And Matt put together some information. We thought we should go for a gaming grant. Besides the fire department, we'd like to go for at least one more gaming grant on debt reduction for the fire truck. But the ask we're going to have for the Fry Manor Park is going to be a significant amount of money. It might go to the max that you can ask the county for. So between that and the truck, we're probably going to be asking for about $150,000.
And I hate to put something on the agenda and push residents out another 2 weeks. Let them have that 2 weeks to make other arrangements, other plans, instead of possibly stringing something along. I just think it's more prudent to the residents.
Does that answer your question, Angie? You can ask for 3, you can sponsor 3, 4, 5, but it's your decisions. How many you want to do.
Want to make sure that we as a body are consistent. If somebody else comes before us asking for support, that we, are consistent.
All right.
Yeah.
I know no one else has yet at this point, but, that's the way we're going, then that's the way we should
Continue.
be.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I agree.
That is all. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Any other questions or comments? All right, Mr. Kleinpeter, thank you for your report. Agenda item number 6, codes.
Hello. Just informational for us this month here.
the various statistics that we have with the open violations and the complaints, and that we are continuing to work with the solicitor on the various ticket items, fee schedules, and lot consolidation ordinances. Any
What-
questions?
When's the lot consolidation ordinance gonna be ready?
We're still trying to get the quit ticket violation ordinance in place, so I want to kind of do one at a time just so we can get these done. And that's already been taking some time as it is. So
Well, thank you for handling 219 South Union. That was,
yep, you're welcome.
Mhm.
Any questions? Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jason.
Agenda item number 7, Director Wilsbach.
Ken touched on the one item that we're putting on, we would like to have on the next meeting's agenda, which is a substation. The bids are out. I think a lot of the questions we're getting back right now is time questions because we had our time period for completion of the construction was in the January area, and they're looking more like June and July, which I understand that the way it is lead times for merchandise and material. So, but nothing really has stood out as far as questions on the building, of the substation as of yet with the bid.
Greg, just on that subject with that project, we saw some tentative schedules out there as far as the build, once the bids are received.
Mm-hmm.
If everything goes as planned, I think they're looking at that project would be substantially complete at the end of the year. You recall that?
Yes.
Yeah. But final completion would be sometime next year.
Correct. Well, some of them, I guess, were asking if we could move that substantial completion date to July. I'm not sure how that's moving
Oh.
July of next year.
next year.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Because of the winter.
normal, what the engineers came up with, when they kind of broke down the schedule as far as the project goes, was near the end of January.
Okay.
But as any project goes, whoever gets the winning bid is not going to want any kind of penalties, if they can't meet that date. And I know it's really hard to get material, so I understand the need for possibly having that pushed back longer, if that comes up. But hopefully, we can still maintain, January as far as completion. The other action item that I have is just approve resolution allowing attachments to borough and poles by Windstream D&E Systems LLC. So they have the contract returned to us with no changes. They wanted a bunch of changes. I don't change our contract because we spend a lot of money for that template, and start changing it for them, then it gets very confusing for our front office and us as far as what's allowed, what's not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to keep all our contracts the same, but that will be on next meetings. Other than that, we had 2 outages. One was from a lightning strike that took down primary, and the other one was a faulted cutout in the backyard. So, any questions? Anything?
No.
Great.
Thanks,
Thank
Greg.
you.
Thank you, Greg. Agenda item number 8, Finance.
Hi, everyone. There is one note I want to add to the last item on my report, is I did receive the resignation from our tax collector,
Right.
and I am working with Dauphin County to figure out our options on that. But what I'd like to do is, to the June 4th meeting agenda, I would like to add an item where you would accept the resignation.
Okay.
okay.
Now, I want to add one thing to that. Sally is talking to the county about this, but that was in preparation that we don't get someone. The Borough Code, which is a state law, says that the tax collector is an appointed position, just like a counselor position. And when there's a vacancy from resignation, we have 30 days to appoint someone to that position from the time that the resignation is effective. So, which is the latter. She gave us,
7 months.
a letter already, but
Mhm.
beneficial in that she gave us an early notice. We don't have to, we can act, we have to receive, we have to approve her resignation within 45 days of when we receive it, which is tonight.
Mhm.
So Sally's asking you to approve it next month, or next week, or next 2 weeks from now.
Mhm.
And then we have this summer to try to track somebody down and see if somebody's interested or get the word out that we're looking for a tax collector, and you folks will select someone and appoint them.
Oh, mhm.
And she's working on a backup plan if we can't find anything. Is there something that the
Yeah,
county
there are
can do for us?
options.
Uh-huh.
And so,
Hmm.
well, the other thing, Ken, and I'm asking this question because I don't know the answer. Do we also want to, on the June 4th meeting, request permission to place an ad on our website?
Yeah, I think we should.
Do we, didn't we just do an increase on that, on her salary? What is the tax
Not
collector?
necessarily.
About a year or two ago, we did that.
What is she making now for?
I didn't look it up.
It's okay, don't worry about it.
She gets paid, the tax collector gets paid by the county to do the county real estate taxes for Middletown. And then the tax collector gets paid by Middletown to do the per capita.
And occupation.
An occupation.
So, Dauphin County's grant, they want it resolved as quickly as possible as well. And so Nick is working with me to figure out what options we can do based on PA law. So,
Does Dauphin County help advertise positions like this?
they're,
No, they don't.
No, because this is a Middletown position. You
Yeah.
can't, under the current state law, you can't service our tax collector if you live in Lower Swedara or Steelton. You have to live
Oh.
in Middletown.
Mm.
It's an elected position right now.
Mm.
So, do you know the salary of Pam?
I kind of tried to get that out of Nick. What we pay her is $13,000. I do not know what Dauphin County pays her.
Mhm.
But I think there's some options. I don't know what we're going to be allowed to do. Because it's a very different animal from what they do. What Dauphin County is requiring for real estate, we're doing per capita occupation, which is the entire population that's working. It's a different population. Some similar, but it's a bigger population.
How long has Pam served? It has
A
been.
long time.
Yeah,
I
a
think
long time,
20 years,
maybe
more.
longer.
Oh,
30.
easily
Yeah.
more. Yeah.
Wow.
She took over for Mrs. Kaler
Yeah.
on Catherine Street. Remember them? Bob and Gene Kaler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she replaced Gene, right?
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Jean
So-
was a committee woman.
So what Grace is saying is that we don't need a motion just to put it on our site. So if
Right.
you're approving that we can place an ad on our site or a note that we're,
We'll wait till they accept the resignation.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
And hopefully by June 4th, I'll have some information back from
Mm.
the treasurer
Yeah.
at Dauphin.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any other questions on my report?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Sally. Agenda item number 9. Chief Whitebread?
Just wanted to give everybody a heads up, drive by the station right now, the roof project's underway. I appreciate you guys doing the
Excellent.
motion.
Yep.
So that is being completed. Attached, to reiterate what the manager said, I gave my letter of recommendation as far as the KME engine. If you guys have any questions about that. Also, if there's any questions, I know Ms. Reed already had a question, the deployment packets that you got of our box cards, as we call them. If anybody has any questions how they work or how to follow along with them, I can go over them as well. Last but not least, I want to thank both Middletown and Royalton boroughs for sitting down and coming to an agreement to both help the fire department out in this.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Chief Whitebread, may I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
At a recent meeting, like 3 or 4 ago, you had forecast a next equipment,
Mhm.
possible equipment. Can you remind me what that piece of equipment is and what the time frame is you're thinking about?
So that's going to be the engine rescue. We're looking to downsize. It's more based on the rescue side, which is a big rolling toolbox. We want to downsize it some to a rescue engine to do both vehicle rescue, technical rescue, and then also be able to still do fire suppression out of that rig. So we do that with the current one, but it's more cumbersome. It's bigger than, it's got a lot of tools on that we haven't used in the past 10 years. Yes, tonight could be the night, but, hopefully not. So we're looking at a rescue engine, and that is slated, that's 20-year mark is 2026, 2027.
It'll be at 20 years.
It'll be at 20 years at that time, and current wait time for a new piece of fire apparatus is 3 to 4 years. So we are actually starting the process of the bid, like getting a spec together now so that we can figure out where we're going to go. With the fortunate that hopefully if everything goes well with the gaming grant this coming year, the debt reduction, that will take care of the current debt on the current engine that we had received. That will be done. With the money that's in the sinking fund as a down payment towards this one, then that'll get our fleet back up. And with the major unexpected refurb of the tower the past 4 months, we're hoping that that'll extend that another 10 years. So that way, now there's still a little bit more, but we had major engine work done, body work.
And that was all insurance related.
Most of it. I also had a lot of maintenance stuff. The head gasket was blown out. We were leaking oil, so I spent the money and I had the head gasket done. I figured since it was going to be out of service for an extended period of time, let's get everything done to hopefully prolong that vehicle even longer. Because that one, you don't even want to know the price of that one.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you doing that. It's good.
Yeah.
The
And what is the significance of the 20-year mark?
That is the NFPA standard. Once they meet the 20-year mark, they should be going either to a reserve status or a sold status. Now, there are other fire departments. There are fire departments in the area that can't do that due to financial constraints. Also, the fact that they don't run a whole lot of calls also prolongs that, but it doesn't go by miles. So it's not like Pat's car has 20,000 miles and I'm looking to trade it in. Yeah, my fire trucks at 20 years, I might only have 50,000 miles. We're not talking about hours, engine hours, sitting there on scenes at high idles, pumping for hours and hours and hours. And the other side of it too is a lot of people, even my chief's vehicle, a lot of people are like, but it's just a car. Yeah, but typically when we're using those vehicles, we're going from point A to point B faster than you are. So that puts a lot of strain on these vehicles. Coming to a stop abruptly and then starting back off at a stop sign, things like that. So it puts a lot of strain on these vehicles. The pumps are the biggest things in the 20-year mark as well, where the pumps start to have the fail points and everything like that, as noted in my letter that's attached in your packet. That was one of the biggest things that we were having issues with that one.
The KM, the
yes.
pumper. Yeah.
So
I'm sorry, it's either sold status or what was the other name? The other
Reserve-
status?
reserve.
Reserve
Yeah,
status.
sell or reserve. So the one that we had talked about prior, Lower Paxton Township, Paxtonia Fire Company, Ian and I had spoke about that one before. I talked to the township chief and I asked about that vehicle and how that's doing, and he said it's not going back in reserve status and it's getting sold. He said it wasn't there. The market wasn't there. So they're going to be selling that too. So
Well, what fire company then can buy equipment that's already hit the 20-year mark?
So right now, the market is very high. You can sign off on that buying a used fire truck. There are departments like Baltimore City, Philadelphia, things like that, that have large orders in for new fire trucks, but now they're having to wait 3 or 4 years for these new fire trucks because they can't fulfill the orders fast enough right now. They're buying these fire trucks to get them by. And then they're going to turn around in 3 or 4 years when they receive their new fleet and they're going to sell them. And a lot of places, there's a broker called Command Fire Apparatus down in Lancaster. There's also Bob Sells Fire Trucks or something like that for Fireline. And those organizations, they typically buy these rigs. They try to sell them throughout the state, but 9 times out of 10, they go to third world countries. They'll go to South Africa or something like that.
Oh, I see.
Central America things. So they ship them. Our old aerial device, the old blue aerial device, Open Cab Seagrave, is still, the last time I heard, still serving in the Philippines.
Wow.
Oh, isn't that
Yeah.
something?
So they send us pictures from time to time and we see it. They painted it red and everything, but it's still serving the Philippines.
Really?
Interesting.
So we will be working on getting a committee of rescue guys formed so that we can start to get together a bid spec so we can get that to get a ballpark number of what we're looking at for this rig, so we can move forward with that. And then the grants start all over.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for the explanation.
Excuse me, Ian, I have a question for Chief Waybread, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is he still up there?
Yeah.
Sorry, I can't.
Yep, yep, he's there.
Okay. I noticed you, the department has seemed quite busy the last couple weeks. Could you give us maybe a brief summary as much as what you're able to tell us?
I know within the past 2 weeks, our department has responded to at least 5 working fires. The big one that everybody's seen on the news up in Harrisburg City, Steelton Borough. We were on that one till 10 in the morning. The following day, we ran what we call box alarms, where it was a fire, but it wasn't like too bad. I kept Pat on the phone a lot that day. We had 5 here in the borough, but they were all small in nature, including a cell phone blowing up in a kid's hand. And then just recently, this past Saturday night, we had a house fire in Lower Royalton.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 10.
Good evening.
Evening.
A lot of things were attached there. Sorry for all the reading material for this meeting. As requested, I provided some woody waste facility information. That wouldn't take effect until later on, probably for 2025. Whatever we decide to do with those. But I was bringing the information back. This is a starting point for gathering numbers and information that was decided. I did talk to Lower Swadera this week and touch base with them on that a little bit. So this will probably come back up as we enter into our budget process here. Sadly, within 2 months or so, we're going to be back into another budget season. So this was just to give you a little bit of the cost for what it is for now.
Yeah, that was very helpful.
It's a lot of
Very
stuff there.
helpful.
If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And
I had a quick question.
yes, ma'am.
If I'm reading it correctly, if we should decide to increase the ticket fee to $30 a year for Middletown residents, and based on the number of cards, you averaged 580. The income, and then there's some Lower Swadera income too, but the total income still does not match the total annual costs.
Correct.
But do we sort of reconcile that because, and help me understand that, much of the mulch that is produced at Woody Waste, we use around the parks ourselves. Is that true?
No.
We do not.
No. I've been getting mulch from Ziegler for our areas. What happens a lot of times is the mulch that's produced at the Woody Waste Facility is pretty well contaminated with weeds. We get whatever folks bring in. If they're weeding their garden, we get old tomato plants, pumpkin plants, tree seeds, poison ivy. So as the mulch sits there, all of those things like to grow. And what we
Start to grow.
found is when we started utilizing commercial mulch, our weeding and tending our planted beds dropped dramatically.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of we're saving in the long term seasonally on the man hours of having to fiddle around with the weeds. We are incurring a budgeted cost for the mulch.
Right.
We have a huge pile of mulch out there that we just spent 2 days paying drivers to haul it away. We hauled it to Ziegler because we just get too much on the facility and it has to leave. So that's kind of, and Ziegler's the same way. They started charging, from what I understand, is because they were just getting a huge glut of not perfect material for their uses. And they're, I think, trying to discourage, getting stuff that really doesn't fit the mold of what they do.
I see.
Did you have any?
I noticed there are fewer cards being issued year after year. What do you make of that trend?
When I talked to Lori about that, she said we get a bunch in the summer or in the spring, and then we'll get a bunch late summer for fall.
Okay.
So it is low for 2024, but she fully expects that will go back and this will be close to an average year.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people, if they don't, they have leaves, so they'll deal with the leaves.
It's the leaves,
in the
yeah.
winter, or in the fall, things like that, or do a final cleanup.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, she expects it will rise.
Sally.
Say something about Woody Waste. So we get Woody Waste cards in daily. We could get 10 to 20 in one day. So it's constant.
It's,
so that number
yeah.
will creep up.
Was just the snapshot. Yeah.
Yes.
I had the opportunity today to actually talk in depth a little bit with Matt and Ken on this item and some points that I wanted to bring to people's attention. So the first one, the 15 limit per resident, and at that point you can purchase a new card. My thought process was take a resident. I'll use myself for example. I own 5 properties in the borough of Middletown. So if I purchase a card for $30, I now have to divide that card amongst 30 properties where, say, Pat has one property. So I think that, when you have residents that own multiple properties, that can become problematic. And then when you say no commercial use, my point is, if you have a resident, let's say we have a resident in Middletown that owns a landscaping business, and they can just buy a card for $30 and then use it 15 times and come back in and buy a card for $30 and then come back and buy a card for $30, blah, 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 blah. How are we going to police them and follow them around to know that if they're using it for commercial use or not? So what my thought process was, instead of not using it for commercial use, instead of having a limit policy, one, welcome commercial use, but bill for it. So say you have 500, you want to use it commercially, buy a card for $500, it's unlimited use. And I'm just using $500 arbitrarily, it could be $250. It would let the fee structure based upon the experts. So have a commercial use policy that you can come in, you can purchase it, and it can be an unlimited use. For the residents, I have a card. I like the idea. $30 gets you 15 uses, and then cap it at that. That's it. 15 uses. $30, 15 uses. If you want to use it more and want to use it, if you're using it more than 15 times, you are almost using it in a commercial capacity.
Right.
Now, if you are a resident that owns multiple properties, say I come in and I want to purchase one card, and I have 5 properties, I can 5 times 30, and then I can just have my one card loaded with multiple accesses to get in and out. And then the public works, or like the Lois Ladera Public Works, Worthington Public Works, you have $50 here, but when we looked on the computer today, Ziegers was like $300.
Yeah, the Lower Swadera typically brings in a single axle dump truck similar to what we have. And Ziegler for the same size vehicle would be $100 per load to drop off at Ziegler.
So, maybe we make that $85 versus it's still better deal than Ziegers, but a little bit more than 50 would be, you're still in the market. And then obviously they're not coming in and buying a card. We could just bill them monthly. If they come in 5 times a month, Matt has record keeping and we just send them a bill for 85 times 5. Deal's done. But those are just some things I pointed out. I think the no commercial use, I think we're going to get ourselves in the weeds of how we police it. I mean, how do you start policing that?
You don't. You can't.
And if I'm if I am a resident that is operating a landscaping business, I'm just going to use my card 15 times and come in and buy a new card, and then come in and buy a new card.
And what about considering, just throwing this out, that if you have commercial use, it's the commercial business has to be in Middletown.
I'm fine with that as well.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. I just think instead of trying to necessarily police it, I think we monetize it.
Yeah.
$500.
Then how do you even police it when they're purchasing? What's to prevent them from coming in and buying a $30 ticket?
Because after 15 uses, you're done.
Yeah, it shuts
Yeah.
down.
And you're done for the year. You cannot buy another card. If you want to buy another card, you got to buy a commercial card. So say Pat buys his card for $15 or for $30 and he gets 15 uses and he needs to use it again. His option is either he waits or he comes in the borough and buys a commercial card that has unlimited uses. But now, like say for myself, I have 5 properties and I want to spend $60. I should get one card loaded 30 times. I mean, it only makes.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Because I shouldn't have to spread 15 limits across 5 properties just because I own 5 properties.
Right.
The goal is to kind of split the baby and make it kind of fair amongst everybody. Get compensated from our commercial vendors like other municipalities, to get compensated from commercial residents that are using it in a commercial capacity, and they'll still allow our residents to have a fair amount of uses at a reasonable rate. And that's the main goal, is to have our residents use it, reasonable rate. And I think 15 uses is, I don't think I've used, since I've been here in I moved here in 2010, I don't think I've used Woody Ways 15 times.
I want to point out one thing, because Matt mentioned budget time, bringing this back up. As far as priority of what's on here, if we're going to implement these next year, I think it would only be fair to Lower Swadera. Now, we asked Jim to look at the agreement too, and we haven't gotten that report back on that Woody Waste agreement between municipalities. So we need to get that before we do anything with our neighbors. But we also have to be mindful that if we find through the agreement we're able to increase that fee for the other municipal use, we need to get them that information before their budget seasons.
Right.
So they can work that in.
Yeah.
That kind of takes a priority, I would think, over the residential
That's a good
part.
point.
And just, I could literally tonight make the decision. I think if Ziegers is, you said 100, I could tonight be okay with an $85 surcharge. It's still less than Ziegers, and it's more than 50.
I mean, I can do research and determine what other area municipalities are charging for the commercial aspect of things. So the Lower Swadera, yeah, we can do that one, but I can do some research and bring back at a future workshop on kind of like what I did there for the residentials down below, for the local fees. I can see what I can find for, you know, what other places are charging for commercial and bring that back.
Matt, what on here, when we think of like the what we're charging here and the expense output for the year total, what one of these numbers is that? You have that?
As far as our total expenses for the site,
Yeah, and then, yeah, and compared to how much we're getting from folks. Is there like a cash minus expense area?
let's see.
You don't have
It looks like the revenue, like just if we took an average year there, looks like 2023 and 2022 were pretty close. We were making roughly 11,500. Based on what I came up with the calculations, we're at a little over 28 or 22, close to 22,000. So it's operating at a deficit just as it does.
So then the proposed things that you're putting in here, where would that take us?
Right now, it would triple because I believe the cards now are 10. So it would triple, assuming the number of cards purchased would be the same, it would go from 11 to roughly 33, if my math is correct, going from 10 to 30. So that would get us more in line with covering the operating costs.
Yeah. So we're proposing here. I mean, we're covering our butts with not putting out too much and potentially even making some extra. Huh? Is that what we're looking at?
Yes, on a straight diagram.
Yeah.
The back part of that, the equipment is crazy expensive.
Yeah, I'm looking at that too, yeah.
And that's where you know, we did kind of get some news from DEP that they're capping the grants at 200,000 now. Before they were 500,000. So as part of all of this, and with having some grinder work that needed to be done, I got a quote for a grinder to replace ours, and it's 575,000. So if DEP continues to cap at 200,000, we can't ever purchase a grinder through that. We could maybe put that toward it, but they don't pay for maintenance. They don't pay for repairs. It's all strictly buying.
How old is our grinder?
It is a 2010.
Yeah.
And the one that it replaced, how many years of service did we get out of it?
That I think was a tub grinder. Do you know, Greg? I think that was an ancient tub grinder. I have no idea how.
No, it wasn't ancient.
Maybe 15 years.
Yeah.
I think Kenneth purchased, or the wastewater purchased that one.
Yeah, that was purchased with a grant through DEP to do, to make sawdust and mulch that went into a biosolids process. And then when that process was no longer used, maybe 12 years that process went, we had no use for the tub grinder, and it got transferred to the highway department for their use. And that's when they started the woody waste thing.
Right.
The laws changed there with that. And they found shortly after they started that it wasn't efficient because tub grinders are much slower than inline grinders, and they don't process as fast. So they had to, they traded that in on the tub grinder, on the inline grinder you have today.
Yeah.
And I think just from talking with people who were here at the time, our grinder got a tremendous amount of debris from 2011 storms run through it. So the grinder's physically capable of doing it, but it's probably not the best thing to put through it, because as people were putting stuff out, you know, it was probably a hard period on its life.
It's a good thing it was new then.
Either good thing or bad thing.
Yeah, I guess.
It set us up for, you know,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, we're doing the best we can. You know, we want to try and get our maximum out of it, but the decision from DEP to cut those grants down is disappointing, and I'm sure we're not the only people feeling that way, because all of the processing equipment is very, very expensive.
Well, it's all the more reason that we get our fee structure under control. That way we can have, you know, maybe another decade with a new fee structure to help offset that loss that we will get from the grant process.
Yeah.
Agreed.
You know, so yeah.
It looks to me like any increase in the fee structure, we'd be lucky if it then just covered the annual maintenance costs.
Right.
because that's not covered right now.
Correct, it's budgeted. It's in
Yeah,
our budget.
but it's not covered by the
correct.
income of this program.
Correct.
So if we were ever going to be able to keep increasing the fee structure, it looks like it would go towards annual maintenance costs, not equipment replacement costs.
You will see, you will see a tipping point with the fee. It
Right.
can't be a constant escalator to try and
Yeah.
cover costs, because eventually people they'll decide it's easier to just pile this up in their yard than it is to pay
Right.
50, 70, whatever the fee is at that
Yeah,
time. And
there is
so
that point.
There is a tipping point. And I think 30 is probably a good,
I do
good
too,
balancing
actually.
act
I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
to help us recoup.
Because we
some of
do
our
want
costs.
to encourage people to keep their yards cleaned.
And it's not just the
Yeah.
$30. Also, the 15 uses is also limiting the amount of debris coming in. So it's a good balance. It's like for $30 you're getting X amount of usage, which is an extra wear and tear on the equipment. So I think it's a good balancing act. Like I said, I think this is a great start. I gave you guys my 2 cents, my thoughts. I think we can bump up the $50 fee to $85. Still under market value. And not allow any more cards, one card purchase a year per resident, and then dive into that commercial status and maybe monetize that $500 a year. Do you have an estimate of how many residents you think are using it in a commercial capacity? Do you have an idea, like 10 residents, 15 residents, 2 residents?
I could have that information. Lori would have to pull a report for me, and obviously if we see someone's been in there 20 times so far this year, odds are they're probably using it commercially. And then, the report will show all the cards usage, and then we could flag those, and then that would be the only way we can tell at this point.
It'd be nice to have an idea, because we could do some simple math, and if we think we have 20 commercial users, we could easily say 500 times 20 is X amount of dollars. I will say for argument's sake, I'll use myself as example. I do hire a local Middletown resident to manage multiple of my properties. So I'm not purchasing a card, but in the event that wouldn't happen, I would then purchase a card. That waste is still going to make its way to Woody Way. It's just going to be in a different vehicle by a different person. So, you still have that. It's not like necessarily you're going to get rid of the waste. It's just going to get there in a different manner. And that may not be true for every scenario, but I think there's a large percent of that's what will happen.
That happens.
And then you also have to take in consideration residents that are elderly or don't have vehicles to haul and still need it moved and need to hire somebody to move it.
Agreed.
So there's layers to this. It sounds cut and dry, but I know not everything always is. But thank you, Matt. This is a great start. I think it's a good to build upon. I think we can build upon this, and definitely something we should get on so that we can get budgetary numbers out to other municipalities.
Will do. I can work on this and have something back to you for June's report.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your work.
A lot to dive through there.
Yep.
Number 3, Fry Manor Park, as Ken talked about a little bit. A couple of us got out there, and there was a site visit and a few ideas. A couple potential projects were kicked around out at the park there. I provided kind of an outline of those. I provided a fairly rudimentary multicolored sketch. Hopefully you could kind of figure out what I was trying to show there.
What page is that?
And I also put in there a proposal from Shaw's to do some tree removal for some large trees out there.
Can I just take a pause? I was down there, and some of those large trees, like one of the maple, I don't know exactly which ones you've identified with Shaw for removal. The shrubs do need some attention. I wouldn't mind taking a pause before we take down major shade trees.
Yeah.
In a park.
Yeah.
When people need shade in parks.
Can you, Matt, you have three, I see on your map here, you have 3 red arrows and 1 green arrow. Can you, okay, the green arrow is a tree proposed, so the green is the dead tree, correct?
Now, the green is one that has some dead growth. The green would stay.
Okay.
That would just get pruned to remove all of the dead growth and clean the
Because
tree up.
there's big limbs were laying down there when we did our
Yes.
walkthrough.
Yeah, they would go in and just
Prune
clean
it
that
up.
one up. And then the red ones, one of them is out along the street. It's already heaved the sidewalk, which we had a contractor repair 2 years ago for us. It's only going to heave the sidewalk again. Maple trees are notorious for that. The other red one that is closest to the top of the page, which is along Harborton, that's a very large maple tree. And the bottom red arrow is a spruce tree that has just been shaded by things around it. It's just not. It's not a good looking tree, and even if we cut everything from around it, it won't recover to ever be a good looking tree.
And
It's had too much shade.
these trees are nowhere near, except for the green. The green, which is the one we're leaving, just pruning, is the only one that's closest to the park. The other trees are
Correct, yeah.
not even near the park structure, correct?
Yes.
Because one thing I noticed, and I actually have a video I took on my phone. The problem down here is the access to this park is it's limited, and it's because of these trees. It stays soaking wet, and I took a video of me trying to push a stroller with my 2-year-old to this park, and I don't know how a handicapped individual would get to this park.
But Matt, are you including, I see on your Fry Manor Park on F, the paved walkway from Huffer Street to the play area? Would that be included in the gaming grant?
Ken and I talked about that briefly this morning. I think what I'd like to do, and it would probably help sweeten the appeal of the gaming grant, would be I can budget, and then we would be able to do the path. And then we could say that would
Yeah, I
be
know
a
it
portion
needs
of our
it.
match toward the overall project, which that helps get bonus points for selecting projects in the county.
Oh, I see.
The whole, unfortunately, I don't know if it's just the soils that are there, even the baseball fields that get sun most of the day. There's a lot of times we can't even go back there to get the trash with the small truck. It just stays wet back there. I don't know if it's very poor soil or what the situation is, but it's kind of.
You have a low water table, for one.
Yes, close to the creek.
And the shade doesn't help. And like the picture I took, I'm clearly in the baseball field area. I could barely get a stroller through it. I mean, it's been wet. It's been wet lately, but the site is
A lot of rain, yeah.
the site is so inaccessible, especially to our handicapped population. Because even if you park in the handicap parking spot where we just added at the basketball course, there's to get to the park, you got to cross practically 2 baseball fields in the grass.
Right.
And then if you park along the street, you can't even, because the borough has the chain link fences up, you can't even fit a wheelchair or a stroller past it.
I think something could be done with that, though.
Yeah.
Once there's a sidewalk,
Yeah.
I think you could redo that
Yeah,
front area.
I'm just mean as of right now.
Put some bush, like an entrance. Yeah.
As of right now, if you were to park there, you still, you don't have access, and then once you're into that grass, you're still 400 feet of swampy soil.
Yeah.
To get to
It's
the
a
park.
distance. Yeah, it's definitely a distance. And that's where I think, we would be able to, we could put the pathway in and, solve some of the accessibility issues for there. And I think
Absolutely, yeah.
that would dovetail with the playground I was working with the vendor on. We talked about putting something that would be inclusive out there, and kids of all abilities, really like I think it's called the inclusive wheel, but for common terms, the merry-go-round.
Down at Huffer Park.
That little Middletown. There's always 20 kids hanging off of that
Yes.
and spinning around.
It's the best $16,000 we spent down there, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really was.
Yeah.
So, when we talked about a small 2-bay swing set for there, because people of all ages like swings.
Mm-hmm.
And swings are really inexpensive in the scheme of playground equipment. So I did put a quote in here for those. I did receive renderings. I didn't have time to put them in the packet. I could email them to you.
Please.
Tara at Ely Associates, she gave us kind of like what you saw for Little Middletown. It's a rendering. You can see what the equipment would kind of look like and so forth. My goal there would be, it would be a turnkey project for a contractor to do.
Excellent.
We would not, all of our part would be, we just do the path and we provide the place for them to build it.
Clean it up, make it a blank slate for them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's what we would go for with the grant. So I did receive a little bit of information since you guys got the packet. I can put that together and email it out.
This is great. This park has been really sorry for a long time.
Yep.
So
I still, and I promise I'm going to do this. I do want to put a letter together and send to the Fry Trust, because this is the Fry Park, and seeing what they will help us out with, even if it helps us on some of our back end here on our parts, just do some cleanup down there, make it a little bit more accessible. So I think
Great
it's
idea.
worth an ask to try to, I mean, it's their park. It's named after them, I should say. It's our park, but Matt, thank you very much for your hard work on this.
The number 4 would be just moving forward. I'd ask for you folks to put that on the agenda because the casino, the gaming grant, will be opening soon. So I just want to make sure that we could get council's blessing to move forward with the
Absolutely.
project, and then I can get you the additional information. But just so that, we can get that on the agenda. Sally and I can work together, or whomever would like, we can work on the grant and so forth. We are just about out of pavers to replace the pavers in the crosswalks on Union Street. We have maybe enough to repair the ones that need replaced right now, but we'll probably be out of them.
Don't we have skids of pavers?
They are not the ones for the streets. Apparently pavers were supposed to go on the sidewalk areas and they were
Yeah.
never installed.
Oh, is that
So
what
we have oodles, probably thousands of pavers that
Yeah.
won't work for our needs.
What needs do we need? I'm sorry, what do we need them for?
Crosswalk.
The crosswalk.
Yeah, the crosswalk. So I'm going to hope that we can replace what we have. They hold together, and then I'm going to have to put in the budget that I really don't want to have to buy new pavers. If we're throwing money into a hole with the
Why
pavers.
don't we just?
Jeez, we got
why don't we just
piles
dig
of
it
them.
up
Just
and
keep
pave
putting them
it?
in until they're gone.
I don't have that.
Yeah, you're right, if they're popping
When this
out.
originally came up,
Keep
we
putting them
talked
in until they're
about
gone.
a crosswalk that looked different than the asphalt.
Right.
That it would be like a stamped red or something that would.
You mean like
Can't
a
make this
concrete?
It's
what,
called
stamp?
It's called Adaprint. It's a polymer modified asphalt. You don't need to hear all the techniques on it, but they put it in. It's colored the whole way through. It's not like concrete where the concrete chips. Now you have a piece of that's not the same
Yeah,
color. These are colored the whole way through. And if you've been to the Med Center, they're all around the Med Center. They
Yeah.
have, when you look
Oh,
at them,
yeah.
they have glass in them. They're a green product, and you can see they sparkle.
Yeah.
I can do that, or if we don't like that cost point, we can surely just put asphalt paving in. We're going to have to do something, and it's going to be part of my budget that we need to
Okay.
do something to solve the paver problem once and for all.
It's a shame because it looked so nice back when we did all that. Was that anticipated? Is that known for pavers? Like
Yes.
they're just going.
Yep.
They
were told not to put them in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were
The
they?
engineer said not to use them.
Oh,
The
nice.
council at the time decided they wanted to override the engineer, and
Oh, gotcha.
we ended up with.
Now we're paying for it. No, you're paying for it.
We're lucky that when they had the pavers at Emo and Union, that none of the plow trucks got ahead of steam plowing snow and slung one through Tattered Flag's window.
Telling you. Yeah. All
Um,
right.
Number 7, we keep getting some calls and concerns about cats.
Yeah.
We've established, council graciously, put a significant amount of money in the public works budget to address these cats. I'm just don't know how this is going to work. Obviously, we're not going to be the ones trapping them. We're not going to be taking them anywhere. I believe, I think Dan had mentioned, he wouldn't mind having voucher systems go through the police department. He can tase me if that's incorrect in the back. But I think we just need to, the problem is going to be, I don't know who to reach out to find someone who is willing to accept the responsibility for trapping the cats, taking the cats where they need to go, taking care of the cat.
You know,
when it gets
Steelton
out.
has a very active and very successful Steelton Community Cat.
They're full.
I wonder if they couldn't be helpful. They've been
Steelton.
doing this.
I spoke with Steelton. They are completely full. We could not become one of their regular municipalities.
I was just saying they might have some ideas. I
Well,
agree.
The
They're up
nobody's
to their
cats,
eyeballs. in
Yeah,
kitty
nobody's
cats.
cats.
They would come and do they have a little short presentation that they would do.
They will teach people how to do this.
I just don't know how to reach the people to get the project. We're heading toward halfway through the year and the money's there and we know we have a cat problem. I just don't know how to get it from
Right.
budget to implementation.
Is that the Steel? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Councilman.
I'm looking into residents on Wilson Street to see if we can't get some people over there to
Any
trap
help
and
would be
release.
greatly appreciated.
So we need a group of volunteers,
Yeah.
and then they will present of how we make this process work.
That's, yes, I mean, we've identified the problem, we funded the problem, we just don't have the implementation
The
part of it.
feet on the ground, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, as I know Ken and I have talked about it, and I believe he's talked here before, and, you know, especially if they're female cats, you don't just shake them out of the trap when you get them back. The surgery's more, you have to kind of take care of the cats a little bit. You have to be prepared to take care of the cat like overnight or for a day or so.
Uh-huh.
So it's not, it has to be committed people.
But
If
it's
they're going to do
48 hours
Yeah.
for female and 24 for male.
Steelton.
That's what I
Is that
was
what it
told.
is?
Steelton is
Yeah.
their program. Is it run by the borough? Is it like their employees?
I
It's
don't
a
think
non.
Volunteer.
No, it's a,
nonprofit.
It's nonprofit.
Mhm.
So it's just a nonprofit operating in Steelton.
Yeah, I think the borough got them the building at one point when they started.
Hmm.
because they actually have a place to put the cats when they come back.
Well, that's what I was kind of my mind was spinning like, what are they doing there? How do we replicate it?
Right.
Is there a nonprofit willing to grow? You know, if we got them a space in Middletown, or we got a space in Middletown, would they be willing to grow and move? And
Or at least come to Middletown and work.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Hmm.
You know.
I would imagine from them, it's probably a man-hour issue. They have probably a core group of people who are dedicated, but
Like,
there's only so many hours you will do it. Even if we gave them space and money, they just may not have the man-hours to accomplish it.
hmm.
It's a labor of love to accomplish it.
It's true.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
It's
So
true.
I thank you, Rochelle. I appreciate you guys have different feelers out into the community. Anything, I would be glad to get something set up with Nobody's Cats. If we can pick a day or an evening or something and they can go through the tutorial with the Nobody's Cats people, they said they'd be glad to do it. If you guys want to put feelers out and maybe it's something we can try and get something, moving here.
Okay.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
One other thing I wanted to mention quick, Giant Foods had 4 people come and help us on a Saturday. I guess it was about 2 weeks ago or so. They spent a few hours here in the rain. It was not a nice day, but wanted to send a shout out to the Middletown Giant they came and helped us plant a bunch of plants down in
Nice.
Hopper Park. So
Very nice.
we appreciate their efforts with that.
Excellent. Any questions for Matt?
I have a question, Ian,
Yes.
sorry.
Yes,
No,
ma'am.
go ahead.
If we could go back to Fry Park for a second, Matt,
Sure.
the printout that you gave us with the equipment on it, is that the equipment? And I'm sorry, I missed part of what was said. Is this the equipment that you're looking to go with?
Yes.
Okay, so just 2 things I just want to put out there. The swings, I think it would be nice if we could have like an ADA swing also, and even like, those swings for infants?
Oh, yeah.
that
Yeah.
have just the buckets.
Yeah.
Okay.
And especially an ADA swing, because I do see the accessible world that you have in there, but I believe we have an ADA swing down at Hopper Park, correct? I think.
We do.
Not
Or
Okay.
I think there's one at Oak Hills, and I think there's at least one at Little Middletown as well.
Yeah, I think maybe we should look at incorporating one down here also, and a baby swing. if you could somehow add that maybe. I mean, there's a lot of space down there. I don't know.
Tons of real
money-wise,
estate.
But,
Mhm.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I was just coupling, there's tons of real estate down there.
Yeah, let me see if, I wouldn't want to take away the two normal swings, but let me see,
I don't
let
think
me
you
put
have
up
to.
a 4-bay swing.
Yeah.
And we could mix and match,
Yeah.
with having an infant seat as well as an accessible seat. And then we would have also two seats for anybody to use.
Yeah, that,
Right.
4, yeah,
Mhm.
that would make sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I would really like that if we can put that in there, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
And is that, Matt, is that the price tag of that structure? The,
15?
yeah,
It's on sale now.
that's
But
cheap.
it will be on
Cheap.
sale again. They run 6-month sales. So the prices you see on here, that one will go up. That price is only good till June, and we won't be purchasing in that amount of time frame. But
I still feel like that's good. I mean, you got to realize the play equipment that's down there has been down there for 30 years.
Yeah.
Plus. So if you spend 15 grand and you're getting your money's worth out of it.
the borough got their money's worth out of the wooden one that's there.
And thank you very much. I was down there. I was just down there and I saw the wood that you did on that platform. I think it looks great. I mean,
Thank you, guys. Did nice
your
job.
lipstick on a pig, but still, it looks great. Thank you for your efforts.
Yeah, we have some really good.
It might fall over, but
No,
the
it's-
platform's going to hold it. But
That's right. That's
In case anyone wondered, there is actually a tic-tac-toe board on the existing one that's there.
Correct.
And for the little bit of price that it is, that's something that grandparents can do with their kids. Anyone can stand there and play a game of tic-tac-toe. So this is, if you have desires or something you definitely don't want, let me know before we get too far into the process. I do know when I ran the figures today, with the added information, the inclusive whirl, we also have to put the rubber mulch around the inclusive whirl that's like at Little Middletown, so that the wheelchairs can get up on it. The inclusive whirl alone ends up being about 27,000 between the mulch and the inclusive whirl itself.
Because it's 15. Well,
Yes, and then it's another
But the-
12 for the rubber.
for the rubber mulch. circle.
I think it's, you
The
know,
total ended up being, and I'll have solid numbers for you, but the total ended up being 85,000 for a turnkey done installation. Now that'll go up a little bit when I tweak the swings.
Yeah.
But I think we would be in a favorable condition for a gaming grant.
excellent. That's fantastic. That's really
As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
Welcome.
I feel like you've been the
Angie, do you have another
longest
question?
List
Well, I just
recent meetings, so thank you.
No, go for it.
I just wanted to say that I like the tic-tac-toe board. I thought that was a kind of cool addition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Agenda item number 11, Mara. Do we have a Mara representative?
I've got it.
Okay. Councilman.
The report highlights percentages of the population from the borough that uses the current programs. Okay. And the biggest program out there is the before and after school program, and 59.7% is borough kids. So that's a pretty huge number for us.
Right.
The important topic on this is it's time for them to redo the population numbers. And currently, from the 2010 census, we have 8,901 as residents. So that's what we're paying on the current contract price. The new number is 9,533 for residents. So I don't know if it's going to change the price per resident, and I won't know that till the meeting the end of the month.
Excellent. Okay. Thanks for the report.
Mhm.
Any questions for Jenny on Mara?
No, thank you for bringing that. They're doing a wonderful job for our community.
They are.
They are just an asset.
What is Snapology?
Like build Legos and do like
Yeah, it's a
building.
kid form of engineering. It's an introduction to engineering.
Is it really?
Mhm.
Agenda item number 12.
Good evening.
Evening.
A few things I want to touch on, but I'll be
quick, staffing update. We're currently at full staffing. Our 3 cadets are graduating in 30 days. So
Sweet.
They are ready to go. Every year, the Dauphin County District Attorney's Office and Fran Charter give out outstanding achievement awards in law enforcement. They do it for outstanding patrol officer, outstanding detective, outstanding prosecutor, medals of valor, and through out all of Dauphin County, one person gets it. And this year, the outstanding detective for Dauphin County was our own Detective Sergeant Adam Tankersley.
That's
Wow. Perfect.
beautiful.
Primarily for his work in human trafficking and child abuse. And this is a huge deal, not just for Adam, which big deal for Adam, but it's also a big deal for the Middletown Police Department and for Middletown itself. To see him up on stage with members of Susquehanna Police Department, with the SWAT team, with what you would perceive as leaders in law enforcement, and one of our own officers was up there with them.
Excellent.
It was great. And it helps with our place in law enforcement in the county. And
Right.
we all know that being successful in law enforcement and in other worlds is fostering and maintaining relationships. And he was friends with all the people that were also award winners. So to see one of our new leaders understanding that concept and using that concept in his work is great to see. So I'm really proud of him, and I think it's a great example of the good stuff that's happening in our police department.
That's great. Wow.
Thank you.
Body worn cameras are active. We talked about that last time. Carrera, we talked a little bit about Carrera before the meeting started, but Carrera was a little bit of a thorn in our side for March and April of this year. The Middletown Police Department, along with LCE, which is the enforcement arm of the Liquor Control Board, conducted an operation on Carrera on April 27th. There were multiple arrests involving furnishing alcohol to minors. Also, there was some underage drinking arrests done. The owners were cited with some of those criminal arrests. It does not impact their license immediately. Their license runs for a term, and it will impact their license upon
Renewal.
reapplication and renewal. So LCB allows them to maintain their license through some education and sanctions and restrictions. So far, it seems to have solved the problem. Let's see what happens when fall semester starts. Hopefully, we can continue to resolve the issue.
Right.
So that was a successful. Couldn't have done it without them, but I'm just glad they were very responsive when we reached out to them. So, any other questions? Anything that's on my agenda?
Peacemaker Quilting Guild?
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit last time. It's a quilting guild in Middletown is presenting some quilts to the Middletown Police Department at their annual picnic.
Okay.
They choose a project annually. They'll provide us some quilts that are vacuum packed and male, female, child that we can use to hand out as we see fit while doing our job. They're going to be giving us quite a few of them, but they'll be vacuum sealed, so we'll be able to. If it takes us years to use them all, we'll be okay.
Excellent.
Okay, great.
Thank you. Great report.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 3, the joint venture / Viola.
13?
Yeah. Agenda item number
Said
13.
3.
Oh, well,
Sounded that way to me too.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I know.
All right, we're going back. Here we
Going
go.
backward.
We're going backwards. We're going back.
it appears that the joint venture is not with us here tonight to provide any updates. Agenda item number 14, council. Does council have anything? I have something. I'm seeking a motion that would allow Councilor Lloyd, Kluskevich, and Mayor Curry to join us tonight via phone for executive session. Do I have a motion in a second?
So moved.
Motion by Councilor Reed, second by Councilor Lister. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. And that is just for tonight's executive session.
What about, can we look at rental inspections?
We can talk about it.
Jason, what do you think about rental inspections?
Put you on the spot there.
There
Yep.
you go. Pop quiz.
There's benefits for having it. However, trying to get the labor to do it is where the challenge comes into play. So we did some extensive discussion and study was it last year or the year before, and the pricing and trying to gauge the manpower with the inspections. Do we outsource it? Do we have it internal? That was the challenge that kind of blocked the rental inspection program. But there's benefits to it to ensure that landlords and the tenants are taken care of in the spaces that are being rented.
Yeah. How, in most municipalities, how does the rental inspection work? Is it whenever a tenant moves out, is there an inspection in between?
It's
tenants,
based
or-
off of, it can be depending on what the ordinance wants it to be. But it's based off of usually 1 year. If they pass, they get 1 or 2 years of a grace period. But if they don't pass, then it's each year until they start to pass.
Okay.
And they pay the fees for each time.
All right.
Any other questions, comments, concerns?
Did Jim Diamond say anything about that commercial district for the adult businesses?
Not yet.
Okay.
Council have anything else? At this time, do I have general public comment? Please step forward and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Joy Melchizedek, and I live over at 36 Brown Street. And I've been a resident for about 23 years.
Yep.
Thank
Yes.
you.
And I've been here before on behalf of this topic, but I'm not sure what's happening on your end or if anything is happening. It's involving a skate park for the kids. I am really honored to come forward and speak for these kids because they actually, some of them I know, and I see them around town. They have no place to go. And this group of kids, they don't fight. I've seen them shoveling snow for free. I've talked to them. I mean, is there anything happening with this?
Well, it kind of went by the wayside when back in 2009. We
I was there.
yeah, we were
Yeah.
there. Yeah, and we tried to get the skate park then. We got shot down by the council.
Mhm.
Your husband was another person that was involved in the skate park.
Wanting it done,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the thing
Yeah.
is, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry, Joy, go ahead.
I don't know. I look at these kids and there's nothing for them. We have things for the little ones. And I'm
Mhm.
really happy about that. I run a kids organization. So I'm happy to hear all this good stuff happening for them. And I appreciate it. And I
Mhm.
want to say thank you for that. But with these kids, there's just
Yeah.
nothing for them. And I'm amazed that I have only seen 2 instances of fighting in the 22 years I've lived here with teens. But the teens I saw fighting weren't involved skating. So the issues, I talked to somebody about, looking at this and they said, oh, it's a gang place. No, it's not. No, it's not. And the thing is, the one place these kids go, a friend of mine who lives next door was telling me somebody started going and screaming at them and telling them to get out of there. They weren't bothering anyone. I see them, but they're right across the street from me. I'm the only one who sees them, And it just feels really, really
Yeah.
important that we pay attention to them before they start talking in a way we don't like.
Yeah,
Because they, they have a voice and they're not being heard,
yeah.
Well, we appreciate it. We did just do a very comprehensive park study,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some really good things that are going to be coming out of that, and we may be able to look at incorporating some other things in.
Yeah. Yeah,
We'll be getting updates. I think the committee's going to be updating council here
Yeah.
shortly.
Yeah, we've got a
So
prior.
we are.
Your timing's perfect.
Timing is perfect.
Yeah,
Oh, good.
yeah.
Can I tell them there's something being looked at? I can
Yeah.
only imagine.
There's lots of things being looked at.
There's a master site study being done right now on the pool property.
Okay.
We're looking at other options to possibly convert the pool to some other type of park. And we're engaged with our engineer. There's going to be some QR codes put at the parks, and there's going to be somebody at the craft fair looking to solicit
Mm-hmm.
input from the residents on what types of things they think the borough needs.
Sure.
And so they'll have some suggested things they can check on a little. And we're going to take a survey. We're going to tally that and see what people are asking for.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna report back to them.
Yeah.
That things are being considered.
Absolutely.
There'll be something on our website or our
Yeah.
Facebook point at some point when that comes out. But they plan to have a stand, like I say, at the craft fair, which is June 8th.
June 8th, they'll
At
be
the
at Hopper
entrance.
Park.
I'd be there, but I'm in Colorado, so.
Okay.
What do you, I'll have to
Mhm.
send my clone in.
Okay.
There you go.
Nope. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Joy.
and
Yeah.
thank you for hearing me. Good
Uh,
job.
Thank you.
Glad about the trees, by the way.
Yeah.
Other general public comment?
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Steve Sands. I'm with 53 West Main, Friends Over Fences. We put the request in for the sponsorship for the gaming grant from the borough, and I just came here to answer any questions you might have.
I don't think I don't have any questions. Anybody have any
Mm-mm.
questions?
No.
I sat here this long, you're not going to talk to me. No, I'm just kidding. Anything I can ask, you want to ask about the property we're doing, the fire we had, or anything else? The fire department did a great job.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us? I mean, I really don't know much about it. What was the cause of the fire, if you don't mind me asking?
I don't know.
Okay, don't know.
So the room that the fire happened in, nobody was in, and they hadn't been in for 24 hours. So we couldn't find any cause. We had multiple inspectors in. And the grant is to try to make up for the difference between what the things have cost nowadays and the insurance policy we had, and try to upgrade the property
And you
as
do
best we can.
you do have an insurance policy,
Oh yeah,
and you're engaged with them currently.
yeah. It drags on very slowly. Yeah, it's very hard. So, okay, thank you very much.
No, thank you. Any other general public comment?
Evening.
I'm gonna make this quick. I'm Reverend Carolyn Whittle. I am always trying to get here, but you and the school board is still clashing. So my only comment is, number one, I do feel like you're doing a better job. How about that? Better.
Thank you.
Not just, but better. Number two,
We'll take
you
it.
got to do something about that. Let me see. I'm in the 200 block of Market Street. The block that's the big
Yeah.
division, that block with all the Sanford and Son stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
You guys been around to see it. It looks a mess.
I'm by it all the time.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm so busy trying to convince my husband that he should move. That's not happening. That then I'm gonna have to stay on you guys about do something. It looks a mess. I mean, it's at least like 6 or 7 cars, and each truck or car has junk.
Junk.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe he sells the junk. I don't know. I don't even know the people. It just is such
Yeah,
an
why is
eyesore.
this
It's embarrassing.
not taken care of?
It's terrible.
Jason has been on it. He's been down there numerous times. I've complained about it. Jenny's complained about it.
What's the address again, please?
Well, I live in the 200 block of Market Street.
It's-
Jenny, what's your dad's address?
I've seen
That
some.
whole circle. But
What do you say?
It's
yeah, it's right in front of your dad's house.
151
It's the
Market
100
Street.
block of Market.
Yeah, because he lives
I'm
next door
driving there
to
tomorrow.
Kenny.
I'm
Kenny's
driving there
dad.
tomorrow. I'm driving there tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's a bunch of, and the thing that's so sad about it, it's not just his house. It's his house, it's the people across the street house, it's too many, everybody's house, their parking spaces are being taken.
Yeah.
Because the
By-
man
by
actually
trash.
has
He
trailers and
Yeah.
trucks of stuff. And at night, when everybody else is quiet, you know, they're moving more stuff. And it's like,
yeah.
it's unbelievable. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
He's been doing this for months, and we've complained.
And it's getting worse, because I go
Yeah.
down through there at least 4 times a week and look.
What, was it just we can't enforce it because he's
He-
abiding
he's-
by the ordinance?
Yeah, there are trailers that are licensed and inspected and they have junk on them. Or a
Right.
pickup
How many-
truck with junk on
The
it.
question I want to know is how many trailers can you have? Because if that's the case, I'm gonna get me some trailers and do me a church
Yeah.
right in the next block.
Yeah, we don't,
That's how that works.
I don't believe we currently have any restriction on how many trailers you can have on the
That's
street.
the problem.
He has multiple trailers, like multiple junk trailers. I
Yeah.
think there's about 4 or 5 of them
Yep.
down there,
Easily.
and they're every day he's out there doing something with these trailers. And at night, she's right. He's out there at night, and he
But you're not getting
disturbs the
more
peace
stuff.
down there. He does all kinds of things.
And is it because we don't have any ordinance that says limit the number of trailers?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all legally
that what
parked
it is?
on a
Yeah,
public
yeah.
street.
Well, they made them.
Because they can park on a public
Dan, you
street.
made them so that they had to turn
Jason
them
gets
around
money.
and
Junk's in a
point
property,
out, right?
Not in a trailer on the street.
I see what you're saying.
Well, how come you can't put a
Tagged
sign
several
on it?
vehicles as abandoned, he's registered them, some have been moved, there's a boat that was down there rotting away, that's been moved, I don't think that belonged to him. There's other vehicles that have been moved, but we've talked about this at other meetings where
Yeah, can you come up, Dana, and get to the mic?
if it's legally parked, and it's full of junk, there's no ordinance violation for it. So
And what would one look like?
what would one look like?
Sound like? Like how would it?
Like if we wanted to fix that problem, what would
Yeah, if we want to fix that problem, what's the
We had talked about this
solution?
before too, we had provided some solutions of covering trailers or limiting how long a car or trailer could park without being moved, or having trailers such as other jurisdictions have to be attached to a vehicle, they can just be parked in the street without being attached to a vehicle.
Well, he parks those trailers all over that area.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because
he's
we don't
parked.
own the street. We own our house, but at the curb, you say that's where our,
There's multiple residents who have multiple trailers, they're just not as ugly as his are. And we had talked about this before, do we require people to cover their trailers if they're full of junk? Or, if somebody with a landscaping trailer be required to cover their trailer. We've tagged multiple vehicles down there as abandoned, we've towed some, we've had some moved. We check on the block regularly. If vehicles aren't properly registered, we can tag them as abandoned, and if it's not remedied, we can tow them. But
how
if
about fine?
But if he has legally registered vehicles that he loads with junk as part of his business, there's currently not a violation in the ordinance for it.
So if I have 4 trailers, you wouldn't find me for having 4
No.
because you can have as many as you want.
There's people from Middletown and non-Middletown residents who have trailers parked in the borough. And if it's properly registered and operational, it's not a violation.
I even, to very somewhat
Don't
similar
give
to
up,
that,
Mrs. Whittle.
I've had a
No,
complaint.
hold on.
I've had a complaint already where, in another area of town, where somebody's running their business out of their home, and 4 or 5 employees meet him at his home in the morning. They all park their cars in the neighborhood, which is a tight neighborhood with parking, and they leave in with him in his truck.
Oh.
So the cars are there all day.
Oh,
So they, that's kind of similar to, they're legally parked cars. It's people running home businesses.
And again, if we would, I'm not suggesting we don't, but if you would have an ordinance that would affect covering trailers, it would be a borough-wide ordinance, not just Market Street. So-
Right,
so
right,
it would
right.
impact everybody who has a trailer loaded with stuff that isn't again, I think if you recall a couple of meetings ago, I brought in a list of recommendations or ideas on what we could do to resolve this issue, or potentially resolve the issue. And one of them was covering trailers or.
So then you're saying we should decide of your recommendations, which one we want to move forward?
Not just my recommendations, but any recommendations or model after other jurisdictions. Again, Loris Pateri, if trailer's not hooked up to a vehicle, you're gonna take it. You know, and I'm not sure that's something that's something you would really have to address. There's a lot of trailers in town.
Oh, there's trailers.
Yeah, but aren't a
everywhere.
lot of those trailers owned by out-of-town residents?
There are some that are. I don't know if it'll be a lot, but you know, we do currently on midnight shift. There's an operational directive out right now that midnight shift is looking for trailers throughout the borough that do not appear to be in an operational condition, running them to make sure that they're properly registered, and if they're not, we're tagging them with an abandoned vehicle sticker. And 9 times out of 10, it either moves or they register their trailer.
And one of the
Which doesn't necessarily solve the problem.
Right.
The trailer's still there. Now it's just legal.
And Dan, remind us, what was the recommendation about a trailer must be attached to a vehicle?
That's in Lower
Other jurisdictions have recommendations or have ordinances that are very restrictive. Some have no restrictions. Right now, the only restrictions on trailers on the borough is that it's a vehicle code restriction, which is it must be.
They're not registered.
Must not be abandoned. An abandoned vehicle is one that is either not operational or not properly licensed to register.
Can you do like parking permits for trailers?
We could do.
Like if we wanted to,
We could do any. You know, you could.
I'm trying to think outside the box to get creative, like to monetize it, to make a fee to where somebody that's collecting scrap metal that makes $20 a month, is it worth doing that? When you have to buy a parking permit for it. I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
We just throw all the ideas we have out there. That's
You know, unfortunately, there's an issue and there's not an easy.
We've got to. You know, the other day, I just was driving up and down through a very dense area of Middletown, from Oak Hill to Union, and from Park Circle over to Ridge. The number of trailers that I counted was way into double digits.
Yep.
And people complain that that is a dense area with not enough parking.
Right.
Now, I'm not against people with their trailers, but it's an issue. It's clearly an issue. It just needs a solution. I'm not for or against their landscape. They're doing they have a business, an honest business. But there's just so many places on the street, either for parking or for safety.
We've also limited the amount of vehicles you can park on your property. Codes has been enforcing that, which then pushes trailers out into the street.
I'm glad you brought this up because I do want to bring.
That used to be 3 trailers in my backyard. Now are 2 trailers on the street, 1 in my backyard.
Yeah, so I want to bring this. I want to talk about this. 2 points here. One, we do have an issue, but it's not borough-wide because yes, unfortunately, there is some dense areas in the borough, but there's areas that aren't dense.
But if what's good for one part of the borough, it has to apply to the whole borough. It's not like you can.
What I'm getting at is, I own 3 trailers down by me. They don't affect anybody. There's not houses within. Thank you. And there's not houses within.
I'm not being smart, but that's an example of if we punish this guy for his ugly trailers, it potentially is affecting other people who are responsible with their trailers.
And then you have another issue where we help create this problem because we have residents that would love to get more trailers off the road, and we only allow them to do 1, and then they go on the road. As you just said, we only allow residents. If you have a yard, you can only put one trailer in that yard.
I don't know what specifically.
Well, yeah, but regardless.
But that's not the solution to get.
And there's also issues where there's non-residents. You go down on Susquehanna Street.
Yeah.
There's a lot of trailers.
Wood Street.
But there's little things, Rome wasn't built in a day, and if you could just do the little things, if we quit citing people for trailers in their yards, and it gets 2, 3, 4 trailers off the street, that's 2, 3, 4 less trailers on the street. It's not a major win, but it's a little win.
This guy is not gonna be able to
Yeah.
put those trailers in his yard.
No.
No.
I understand, but we can't legislate over just one person.
No.
You can't just write all the rules in the world and legislate because there's one bad apple in the borough. Because there's lots of apples in the borough that aren't bad. So I understand it's an issue. I sympathize. I want to fix it just as much as anybody at this table wants to fix it. I'm just trying to get creative and how do we fix it without going off the deep end? I'm not saying I know the answer. I'm not saying I know the answer. And
Well, what I don't understand is the other municipalities have fixed it. Why can't we?
other municipalities are Middletown's unique. Other municipalities have lots of off-street parking. People can put 1 or 2 trailers in their yard
No,
or in
I'm
their
saying
driveway.
you go to Steelton, Hummelstown, they've got the one where you have to be attached to a vehicle. They don't have the problem. The township has the same ordinance. We have nothing.
Right.
And it's affecting a lot of areas of town.
Yeah, people can't park because down on Market Street, people can't park
You-
because
you-
this guy is blocking up so many parking.
You said he has trucks and trailers?
He has a truck, and I think he at one point the one vehicle that he had on his property wasn't registered.
Well, he had a truck parked out front that we tagged as abandoned. That
Right.
is no longer there.
So that's a win. Okay, that's a win, right?
He has a kind of like a dump truck. That's,
Does he have a motorcycle down there still?
I don't know.
He did have a motorcycle that wasn't registered too.
Man, this guy got everything.
He's a busy rascal.
I'm gonna drive down. I'm gonna look at that. I'm gonna look into this. We need to look into this. We do.
Well, I'll meet you down there tomorrow morning if you want.
Yeah, well, I can go down there too. I go down there sometimes every day of the week just to see if something's moved.
That's the way I go. That's the way I go home. I go past that place every day.
What I was getting at is if this guy has a truck and trailer, he'll just attach them. They're not gonna go anywhere.
He's not going to attach all 4 or 5 of those darn trailers.
No. He'll end up with another $500 truck and attached to his trailer, and only have 2 things out there.
No, I doubt it. But he takes up.
Well,
there's
it keeps
a lot
coming
of that.
back. We need to take it seriously. Why don't we just work on this and come back next time or next month with something. You have given us recommendations. We know what other municipalities do. It's just time to find a solution that's right for Middletown.
But and I agree with that, and I think one of the first ones would do is I would look at that one trailer on the property ordinance or whatever.
All right.
That, I think that's stepping stone.
Okay.
My opinion.
Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Dan.
I'm sorry, we got on a tangent there. Is there any other general public comment?
I was just gonna comment on Dan's response to the parking, real short. Being this diagonal parking down there, if you adopt an ordinance that says a vehicle must be attached to the trailer, now they're gonna be in the street, per se, off of the diagonal parking area, because you can't put it in there. You've been dealing with this since I was in code enforcement with the trailer park, Harborton Place. Nothing ever got done out there other than some of the police officers and police chiefs prior to Dan really policed the area and tagged the broken down vehicles. Elsewhere, you're not gonna do it. Physically impossible.
Well, I will say, I live down in that area, and from when I moved in, it does look 100% better.
It is better.
I was
because of
90.
our police department.
Yeah, and I will give them that credit. It does look much better.
Right.
Because when I first moved in, it was bad. You've
Yeah.
been down there longer than I have.
Yep.
But we're making progress. I'm sorry. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Robert Fudge Fallinger, 138 Ann Street, Middle.
Thank you. Any other general public comment? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn? We will be heading into executive session. We will not be returning.
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Meeting's adjourned, everybody. Thank you.
Come on, trying to beat me?
Huh?
Trying to beat me?
Yeah, I'm trying to beat you.
Oh, I know, it's no big thing.
Hey, look at this. This is one of the thickest packets we had yet.